And we're live.
Hello and welcome back. Sorry for the delay. There was a few technical difficulties. Gary's been rushing around, pressing lots of buttons and a few choice words. So this is the third part of this demonstration using the Derwent ProColour pencils on the black cartridge paper, the Frisk black cartridge paper. And the same as the first two sessions this morning, we have a studio audience, so say hi.
Hi.
So put a lot of the colour on. It's nice to walk away and come back. There's few areas I want to go back to, but what I want to do is get some background on, because from the original it's nice and light and I want to add some of that light, which is why I've indicated where the shadow is. And it was that harsh shadow and that nice strong light that attracted me to this picture. So I'm going to just use, don't know what colour, champagne, just to add the ground that the iguana is sitting on. Now, because I've been using black, I'm going to try and use the black as shadow. And what's also nice is the texture of this paper. You can use it to create that textured ground. I think it looks like a paving slabs or something like that. But if I use it and gently put the colour on, I can use it as texture, which is always useful to be able to do. It's a lot less work. So just using the black as shadow. This is only one colour at the moment. I will come back and put other colours on when I have seen what it looks like. So it was this harsh shadow that you had. And again, the white is still a bit harsh, but you can see how I can lift off and take that back. Just to take that really harsh whiteness of the pastel pencil down. And now I can really start to bring out that shadow. So this is just a base layer at the moment. It's a one layer. Trying to keep it level, just because that's making it look like a solid, more regularly textured items like the ground. But it doesn't mean that naturally you kind of curve like this. So I think actually Gary hasn't taped it down for once, so I can move it, but I'm not going to, because it's going to give me this. If I turn it, I won't get the same line. Notice I'm using the side of the pencil. This is a bit blunt. I haven't bothered to sharpen it because I won't need it for this. And you can see how it gives you those lovely lines. Just soft at the moment because I want to use the texture of the paper. I do also have more iguana facts. I've been saving some up. So in the first session, I would have given you a few. The second session, some new ones. And the third session, I do actually have some more interesting facts. It's amazing how much you can learn about iguanas. So like I say, I've seen these, and you know, when you first get to Florida and you see them by the side of the road or just what you're going, what's that? It's not what you see in the UK. It is quite a surprise that these great big animals are just sitting by the side of the road basking. So cold-blooded, and they love to bask in the sun. What also surprised me was how they dropped out of the trees. You hear this thud and there's an iguana jumped out of the tree behind you. It's amazing. So they can run. They look quite stocky and short, you know, and ungainly. They're actually quite fast runners, so they can run to about 21 miles an hour. So they can pick up some speed. I'm just now, so you can see I've gone round what I want to do, because background, foreground, I want to bring the detail here a little bit lighter here, so I'm going round again. I might change colour. So yeah, they can run pretty fast, but they can also swim. So again, a friend's been to the Galapagos, so you've seen the Galapagos iguanas, and they're marine ones, very adapted for the saltwater conditions, and they become black because of the sun and to live in those environments, and they sneeze. Apparently, the ones on the Galapagos Islands sneeze to get rid of the salt water from their nose. I didn't see that these sneeze, but I guess they sneeze like any animal. But the green iguana is comfortable in both salt and fresh water, very adaptable. And there was different information on how long they stay underwater. Some say can stay submerged for a few minutes. Others say they can stay submerged up to 45 minutes before they come up and take a breath. And what they can also do is they can breathe in hot air, which is abundant in Florida, and that helps them float. So they breathe it into their lungs and it helps them float. So more iguana facts. So I've just picked up, don't know what colour, flesh pink. So it's not a colour, if you just looked at the name, that you would think of using. But on this black background, it's nice. I'm going to add a little bit more colour. Let's see. There's a nice light brown ochre. So you can see that just adds a little bit more colour without taking it away. So you actually, surprisingly, how many layers you can put on the background and how many layers you'll need just to make it look solid. They need something to sit on and to bring out that light. Again, using the edge of the pencil. I'm not putting the colour everywhere, and I might put some different colours in. What colour? I'm going to go for violet. Now, the reason I've chosen the violet is because you've got the violet in the iguana, and it's nice to drop a colour that you're using on the subject into the ground. Not that you probably can see it, it's not a colour you can probably see, but what it does is it kind of brings it all together. It shows that they work together, they're part of each other. Again, not liking this light outline. Just need to take that back and go back in. See if I can take it. So the light is not necessarily white. It can be, there's a pink up here. I'm going to do a bit of bluey green. So like I said, I have said all the way through coloured pencils how much colour you can put in. It's a lot of fun. So I've just added some now, bit of the blue, don't know what blue, turquoise green actually. Just looking for balance, making sure you're actually touching the iguana because they're not outside, they don't need a halo around them. I'm trying not to use white yet because I don't want that harsh light. But I do want to create a little bit more solid around the shadow. And I do see that now I've put the background on, that there are areas that I need to darken. Let's get the shadow shape there. Just maybe add a little bit more shadow under the foot. And add a little bit more light. So it makes that shadow stand out a little bit more. Let's add a lot more light here. So luckily, because this has been a 3-part session, I've been able to come back and re-look at it, which is always useful. It means you can reevaluate, relook. And that is really helpful because I walked away from it going, oh, that didn't really work. And then come back and went, no, it actually did. So if you're in your studio and you're doing it yourself, you can move away, have plenty of cups of tea. Right. What's that looking for? That's okay. For now, I'm going to start to actually do a little bit more observation. Observation is the key for drawing. I use the photo as reference, and I will when I'm putting colour on, but often the colour kind of comes to you. But now I want to really look. I'm going to go out from the eye and just look at what I can add detail to. Your focus will be the eye. So let's see if I make sure this makes sense. And I talk about making sense. It just needs to look right. So here, it needs to just darken slightly. And again, it can be slight changes. Just slightly darker here. And that's not making a complete amount of sense here. So let's use light and dark. So I still need a little bit more dark, so you can see the detail there, but there's no shadow coming round to show that the nose is that shape. So I need to fix that. Okay, don't want to overdo it. This is the ear part. We decided this was the ear, didn't we?
Yes.
Because you've got this. What was that called?
Oh, the sub-tympanic shield.
Well done, Gary. Did you write it down or did you remember it? Because I'm impressed. We called it the ear protector, I think, in the end. That's what we decided to call it. Darken here. Use the dark just to add a little bit of detail. I've used white for detail. But it was too light here. So maybe I can add. And you do need the black because I don't think the shadow is dark enough. Tried not to use the black. But because this paper is black but has that undertone of grey, I don't think it's given me enough for shadow. You can see there how you can just add. And I'm not going to leave it black, I'll just add a drop of purple in because I think black's quite harsh. I'm going to darken this. No, that's the wrong colour. Thought I picked up the purple. There we go, it's that one. Just use the purple to darken because this is quite dark under here. And like I say in the photograph, you can't see completely what's going on. But what I don't mind doing is putting it on and then taking it back. It's much easier than struggling to get it out. Just dabbing here to take the white away. That suddenly dropped that back. Too much, a little bit, because I want a little bit of foot. Now, also with the black, because it's actually it's not separate to the, it's an absence of light, but it's not an absence of structure, so the ground is still underneath. So I'm just going to add a little bit of texture in there because it's still part of the ground. This is the purple. Like I say, the purple works sometimes a bit better than the shadow there, and then the shadow where the foot is sitting. That must be shadow of the knee. This is shadow of the elbow. but you will also get shadow under here because it's touching the ground. So this purple works really nicely. Drop that back. And here, so now I can work on bits that have been bothering me, so this needs a little bit more light. That's better. Maybe bring this out a little bit. Just suggesting. And that hasn't got a huge amount of detail on, so let's have a look. So the light is here, but that looks odd. So let's change it. If it doesn't work, even on the original, it makes no sense, alter it. Right, so I want the shadow. Just adding a little bit more texture, using the same colour as I have in the shadow. A few rocks, see. Because it's not a smooth path and it's not going to be smooth, so more texture. It's again time, but if you can just add a few squiggles here and there, they can alter the texture. Try not to make it even, which is something you do. Here. So this is the foreground, so you will have texture in this. Bit of carmine. Oh, that's nice. That lovely warm brown red. Just making some of those colours sing. And for me, it is about colours and the way they sing and they work together. So I can be dedicated to what I'm seeing on the ground, or I can just have a lot of fun with the colours and just see what the colours are telling me. So this is white. Being very careful not to use too much white because I didn't want to overpower. But I do feel I need to add that little bit of light I cannot get from the other colours. And this is the most, the white is the most opaque, the whitest. Not forgetting about the background. And right, so now I've got the white. I'm going to look at detail. Let's just straighten that arm. Go. Around here, a bit more colour. And using this, I can see that it gives me a really nice quality. It's not too harsh. I might use it to add a little bit more of the scales. See some lighter areas on the back here. That's a bit lighter, so I'm going to use the white. The light, I need to change that slightly. Just make that less of curve and more, the shape is like that. It's got a nice wavy shadow. Like I say, the difficult part is doing the light underbelly with shadow. So, quite like that, but I don't think I've done much here, so I can add another frill. And let's add some colour. Good old magenta. Let's go back in here.
Anita?
Yes.
Pat and Tina both saying that the background really makes a big difference and helps it sort of...
It does. It
pop out.
makes it more sense of where the colour is coming from. And like I say, putting the colours from the subject in the background just ties it all together. I was going to work on that foot.
We've got about 10 minutes.
Yes. So I think I'll be able to get this foot, because it hasn't really got the same level of detail as everything else, which will make it look and stand out a little bit. See, I don't always know what colour I'm picking up until I look at the pencil itself. So here, that needs some more light. And a little touch of light on the corner there. This can have a little bit more shadow. Yellow is quite nice. So again, looking at the shape, I think the shape here, it has a slight upturn at the end of the foot, which I'm not foot, end of the toe. It has a rise there, which I'm not getting. So good old white will usually fix that. That's altered that, it's made it a little thicker. Again, so shape here. We said the light is hitting just there. Like I say, a touch sometimes is all you need, and it doesn't have to be the white, it can be the yellow. Still not quite right. I think it's a blurry image, which doesn't help. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some little marks, little details. Okay, let's put some under here. So, again, if you look at this one, I was looking at the core, because if you look at the end, that's quite dark. I know I'm going to get that burnt carmine colour, which is that brown red. But I wouldn't have known that if I was looking at the end. It's difficult for them to totally colour match, and I think they do a great job. But this is why I look at the actual pencil. I was explaining to someone, I can't actually see what you see because the light in the studio is very flat. So a lot of it is a surprise. And this is probably why I put a lot more colour on than you would think, because I can't see it. A lot of it is a surprise until I've walked into natural light. And then I go, oh, there's much more colour in there than I expected. Not a problem. And working blind can be fun. Right, on here there's a lot of shapes. I'm going to go for the white. It's got a nice ridge here, which we've got, and then there's a few. Don't want to keep them. They are even, but I don't want to keep them too even because it's just not going to work on this. And what I think that goes up here slightly, a little bit more. So just a millimetre change here, changes that shape, just really brings it down. So I don't have any more iguana facts.
Yes, you do.
Do I?
There's one that you haven't mentioned yet.
What was that?
It's eye related.
They have very good vision. Yeah.
It wasn't that.
Well, I can say that. They do. They have very good vision. at set in bright light, they're actually extremely good vision. They see on the ultraviolet waves, but in dull conditions they don't see as well. What was the other eye?
They didn't necessarily have the expected amount of them.
I told them about third eye.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I must have zoned out then.
So yeah, if what Gary's referring to is they have a third eye, maybe because I probably talked to him again and you thought I was talking about something that we hadn't talked about. But the third eye is usually about here. It's not actually an eye. It's a photosensitive photosense gland. So what it does, it can sense movement and it can sense light conditions. And it's just at the back here, but they call it the third eye, which I thought was really interesting because they say we were, developed over time to get rid of this kind of gland at the back of our heads, but they've obviously, being very close to the first creatures on Earth, and haven't developed, they've obviously kept some of the characteristics. So I don't want to do much more on that because I can keep working. So I think that's it. I'll leave it as it is. So just to recap, using the Derwent ProColour Pencils, they were new out last year. What I like about these is they have a really strong core, able to really push, and it doesn't crumble like some colours. Nice colours in the range. Do watch out for light fastness. Not all the colours are light fast, but you get that with any pencil range. Using the Frisk black cartridge paper, 135 gram. I wasn't really bothered about the weight of the paper for this. What it is this texture. It has enough texture to hold the colour and be able to layer without it falling apart. Just using the pastel pencil to sketch down initially, because if you saw in the first session, graphite pencil, the pencil on top resists and you end up with the line, and because graphite's quite hard, you can score the page, and again you're left with a dent. So a pastel pencil, it can be any colour. I've used the white because, like I say, it's leaving some of these white highlights for me. So I hope you enjoyed that, and join us next week for a live workshop with Sue Williams, and that's goodbye from me and goodbye from the audience.
Bye.